I love
Ready?
your costume so much. Okay.
Thank you. I'm a vampire. That's going to be the intro.
I'm a vampire.
Hello, Peekers. Welcome back to the Plot Peek podcast. I'm Miranda.
And I'm Mackenzie, and this is your one-stop shop for storytelling.
Tea spilling.
And to keep up with all the latest book talk drama you have been missing out on. And it's Halloween
Ooh, booga, booga,
version.
booga, booga. I'm a vampire right now.
Mom,
Booga, booga.
I'm a cute little kitty cat. I'm so cute.
So cute. I want to give you, I said crap. I want to give you scratches. The teeth make it hard for me to talk right now.
I know
got
when you
fangs.
said something, it gave you a major lisp in
I
the
know.
intro, and I was like, well, that's embarrassing.
No, you can't say that to me.
Why? Because I have a lisp?
Yeah.
I do. I don't know if you guys have ever caught on, but I do have a real life lisp. And you
It's
know what?
cute though.
It's
It's not the worst.
endearing.
It's not the worst lisp I've ever heard. Have I told you about this one guy in high school? He his lisp was for L, and his name was Willie. So he always said Willie. His name was
Oh.
Willie something, and it was so embarrassing.
If you're listening, Willie, it's okay. She's
Everything is
just a
okay.
bully.
I was unmedicated back then, and going my frontal lobe. You guys know how important those things are.
We were talking about frontal lobes at work today too, actually.
It's very important.
Should we, before we get into the story, which this is a micro peek, guys. I don't know if we told you. It's a special micro peek, and we read a book just for you to talk about. But before we get into that, should we talk about the freaking Love is Blind tea?
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yes.
I
don't even know where to begin.
I'm living for it, one, but also it makes me so sad because in the beginning, I actually had a lot of hope for a lot of these couples.
Mm-hmm. And that's how they
we
get
don't
you
want
in
to spoil anything. So if you don't want spoilers, skip ahead like a couple minutes. And
Good luck. Hopefully we don't spoil anything.
yes, so sorry. Skip ahead a few minutes. Yeah, maybe, perhaps. What has been the biggest shocker for you with this season?
Well, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but my good friend from college, his sister was on the show. So I already knew how that story was going to end. So it wasn't much of a shock. It still broke my heart. And we need to get into that because that triggered me so bad. But I think the biggest shock to me was a couple who made it out of the pods. And they, from the get-go, even at their honeymoon, were not like vibing. She hated him immediately. It was like Tim and Alex, I think her name is. And
Oh, yeah.
And she hated him from the get-go, from their very first meeting. Like, he was like, I got that dog. She was like, ew, quit saying. Like, she had the ick immediately. She did not like him. And then from their honeymoon stages, they were not vibing at all. She looked pissed off the entire time to be with him. And then they had this huge altercation where they kind of alluded that she put her hands on him, but somebody else clarified that she did not put her hands on him, but it made everybody think that she did something aggressive like that. Long story short, they had really bad argument, blew up, and then they make up, and then he goes to ask for her hand in marriage to her dad, and like that's a whole emotional scene. And then she meets his family. She has a sleepy problem, so like after about 4 hours of hanging out with his family, she goes to sleep, which pisses him off. And literally, it was like within that day, he's like, I could never see you be my wife. You're the last person I want to be my wife. I could never be with you. Like, he was over it. Like, so many memes have come out of that conversation. Me and Colby were like, what is going on? He's like so hard right now. He's like, I don't want you. I don't want to be. I hope you hear me clear. I do not want you to be my wife. Like, he was saying that so many times. And I was like, so rude.
It was so out of the blue, seemingly too. Like, I mean, they did have problems, like, but very minor. And also, he had just like a couple days before asked her dad for like her hand in marriage. It was like this
Yeah.
whole emotional thing just for him 2 days later to be like, "Fuck you. I don't
Yeah.
ever wanna hear from you again."
It was so dramatic, and I mean, I knew they weren't gonna make it to the end. I didn't think they would, but it was just that sudden breakup out of that's what they did to these breakups in this season too. I feel like all the breakups were, like, out of nowhere almost. It was almost like they were like, "You have to sit down and you have to break up with them." Like, it was like they directed them to break like, "You have to have something to say to end this relationship." That's kinda how the vibes I felt with it.
I don't think I was more shocked with anything except Marissa and Ramses breakup though. They seemed like okay, there were obviously red flags, especially watching through major red flags. Okay, but they seemed very happy and they seemed like they were actively working through them. And then it just seemed like Ramses just ended it out of nowhere right before the weddings.
Yeah. He's a piece of shit, and he was trying so hard to end it, and he literally couldn't even make up an excuse. He was just
There
like,
was no excuse.
he's like, "I just feel like I might hurt you in the future." And Marissa's like, "Okay, but we're not there right now. Like, we're
And you're
good,
hurting
right?"
me
Like,
now.
there's literally yeah, I'm like, "Why is he?" And he kept doing it, and she's like and she even said, like, in the interview I don't know if you've seen any interviews or articles about, like, her talking about this whole breakup thing, but apparently, like, there was a couple things that they had cut out, and she was like, "We can be in an open relationship. We don't even have to get married over here. Like, we can break up and, like, date off the scene. We can just keep this slow, or we like you said, I can have an open relationship. We can be flexible. We can do long distance." Like, she was doing everything to make this thing work, and he was like, "No." And for no reason other than his friends telling him that he hurt his ex-wife. And he's like,
Come
"Oh, I didn't
on.
realize that hurt so much."
I really feel like he is just looking for a way out at that point. Like, I don't even know that he was listening to his friends about his ex. I literally feel like watching the way it went down that he had just made up his mind. And I don't know when he made up his mind, but it seemed like for him to wait till the very end
Yeah.
could be even just for like a publicity thing to just to be on the I don't know. He seemed like he was not ready at all to get married.
Yeah. I also feel like with them, for like, I feel like they did not get highlighted enough. Like, their time in the pods, they were barely shown. And I feel like the only times we saw them, it was about them having sex or towards the end of them having those controversial topic conversations and then the breakup. Like, I didn't get to know them really as a couple.
Yeah. But I felt like that with a lot of the couples this season, though. It showed these random weird highlights of them, but we didn't really get a lot of I don't know. The interactions we got with a lot of the couples were weird. We did get to see Taylor and Garrett a lot, which I really liked
I
them.
like them a lot. Yeah, they're definitely
Um,
the dream team couple.
I'm really interested to see what Ashley has to say about Tyler.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't believe yeah, that is another big highlight because we all heard that he had a baby halfway through the show, and then turns out he's got 3 babies, a kid and twins with his friend who is a lesbian, but not really a lesbian, and he does not wanna take care of those kids. There's a lot of drama. I've seen so many TikToks about this.
Did you see the sneak peek for the reunion?
No. What is
It was
it? Tell me.
basically like it was only one small part about her and like what she was saying. She was like, I don't know who I believe, like social media or my husband. And that's all they said. And I was like, girl, it's not just social media. There's red receipts, there's proof.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It wasn't just the babies. He was messaging other girls too, like wanting to hook up with them
oh,
during
I
their
didn't
time
see
together.
that.
Yeah, he was like trying to hook up with people and everything. Like, I think it was right when he went to the show. So I don't know if it was like after he had met up with Ashley, but I feel like the way that I was hearing the TikToks is that he was being unfaithful
Oh
afterwards.
no.
Yeah.
That's even worse. But like the more crazy part is that like whenever he was explaining the whole sperm donor thing to Ashley, he was like, "Yeah, I don't think they know who I am." He was living with them.
Yeah. There's
Hi
actual pictures of him holding their hands,
and videos. It's actually
matching
crazy.
PJs for Christmas.
His name is on their birth certificate.
Oh my gosh. No, I can't believe him. And it's really sucks because I think if it wasn't for that whole drama, they would have been my favorite couple. 100%. I love Ashley so much, and I feel like he was matching her energy, and
They
now I
seem
just
so
feel like I
sweet.
can't believe anything he says. I feel like he's just playing her.
I will say I did see this girl, she was breaking down the, like, edits where she was like, "We know for a fact Netflix edited this." And
Mhm.
apparently whenever, she asked him, "Do you know what they look like?" It was the camera filming his face and it was her back, so we didn't see her say that in the conversation, and then we don't know what was spliced together, so she was questioning whether or not that was actually what was said or if that was something spliced together to create more drama and
Yeah.
animosity. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of a long shot, but
Well, I mean, that is reality TV, and I do believe because like this was like 2 months worth of filming, so they cut out a lot of stuff, and they definitely are using certain things to get a certain emotion out. But it's just I hope that they're not actually editing these things to be malicious and tear a relationship apart when this whole point of the show is to be finding love. So I hope that they're
yeah.
not just, you know,
I hope that they're not either, but we've seen them be shady before. So,
what do you hope happens at the reunion?
I hope somebody puts Hannah in her fucking place. Um,
Ooh.
and I hope we get a lot of hard asking questions from Nick and Vanessa. And I also hope that somebody calls out Leo for his weird behavior in the meeting with Brittany afterward, where he was like
Yeah.
holding, and she was so clearly uncomfortable, and he,
He's like, "Moo, moo, 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 moo."
or him straddling the stool when Hannah said she was going to break up with him and being like, "Have you made up your mind? Have you made up your mind, Hannah?" I really hope all of those things are brought up.
He
I
was
also
an
hope we
actual
hear more
psychopath.
about Steven's kinks and how gross he is. Not
Ooh,
because of
tea.
his kinks, but because he's a whore.
He's a whore
Yeah.
illegally.
Yeah.
You can be a whore legally, but he was being illegally a whore.
Unfaithful.
Unfaithful whore.
Yeah.
We don't respect the unfaithful whores.
Yeah. Slut is a positive.
Mhm.
Whore, negative.
Negative.
Yeah.
Mhm. Unless you're into being called a whore, you know. It's whatever you want. Anyways, so I hope that Marissa's mom rips Ramses a new one.
Ooh, I did
I
see she
really
was on there,
do.
which I cannot believe that. Really?
Yeah.
Netflix said drama? Say
Bring
less.
her back. Bring her back. But I heard my friend, he was like, they coached the mom. They're like, just keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything because they're going to try to make you look like the bad guy again. And they're going to do all this stuff. So I don't know what actually is going to happen at that reunion. We'll see. I'm
Oh,
excited.
man. I love that. I do hope she rips him a new one.
Me too. And I hope that Ramsey, like, I want to know what he has to say right now. Cause also, I was told that Marissa, like, after they broke up, she reached out to him like 6 months later and they started talking again. They were talking every day to the point where she was like, "Do you want to try to give this another shot?" He still said no.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tea. It's like,
That
why?
sucks.
And from like the end of their conversation of the breakup, I was getting the vibe that he was saying that she was just too much for him. Like her energy was just too much for him, which is such a like literally if you're too much for somebody, they're just not enough for you. Like that is like the biggest statement of that statement. Like you're not ever
100%.
too much. He's just not enough for you, clearly.
100%. Also, I feel like she was such a sweet, wholesome person. Like, she just seemed so completely genuine and authentic with her feelings constantly. She was so open, so honest. Like, I don't know. He gives me
Yeah.
so much ick.
Yeah, he gives me the ick too. A lot of people are saying like he's one of those fake feminist guys who like weaponizes it for their own benefit, and
And
I
then
see
he's
that.
like, "Oh, then you have to use you can't use birth control. Sorry, break up."
He's like, "But I'm not going to wear a condom, and I don't want to get pregnant." And she's like, "Okay, well, I don't either, and I don't want to take birth control."
And he said, "But I
That
want sex to
conversation,
feel good for me."
yeah, that
Ew.
was so yuck. Don't like that.
Well, speaking of intercourse, should we get into the book that we read this
Yes.
week?
We are going to be talking about the book called No Place to Hide. Who's the author of this one?
Harper Ashley and Wren Hawthorne. They co-wrote it.
Yeah, so this is a dark romance Halloween novella, is what it's got the description of. Do you want to give like a? There's no plot to it, guys. I'm gonna just go ahead and ruin this for you. There's no plot, just sex.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot of sex. It's giving like haunting Adeline, but with no story, no pretext, nothing. They just meet and they're like, "Should we take each other through this carnival?"
that's
Basically, it's a
literally
girl. She's like a kind of Southern Belle, snooty tooty, perfect girl, has been perfect all her life, only had one boyfriend, only had one sexual partner. She meets this bad boy, rough around the edges, carnival worker. He's a carny, but he's very attractive. You know, he's burly, he's very tall, masculine, just this bad boy energy. And she takes a look at him. He ends up breaking up this altercation with her douche ex, Travis. And she takes a look at him and she's like, he makes me want to go bad. He makes me want to go dark. And then he's like, don't do this. You don't want me. I'm too dark. I'm too scary. And she's like, no, I really do.
she tells him that she wants him, and he's like, okay, well, the carnival is about to shut down. I want you to go wait in this shack that I'm working at right now. It's like this fun house. A creepy clown is in there, and that's where she's supposed to stay in while they close everything up, while the carnival is emptying out. And so he goes, dumps off his key, and he's like, no, surely she's not actually waiting for me. Like, that would be so crazy if she's actually here. Turns out she's actually in there. So they go in, they have their little makeout session, and then I think from chapter 3, I was starting to get weird vibes from everybody, including Jackson. But I think the biggest thing that started picking up to me was what you were saying, where she was like, oh, I want you, baby. I want to be bad just like you. And he's like, you don't want that. She's like, I do. And then he's like, all right, well, here's how it's going to go. If I catch you, I will punish you. And she's like, what does that even mean? And then that's where their game begins. He's like, I'm going to give you a minute or what, 2 minutes to go run
I
or
think
something
he
like
said
that.
3 minutes, but then after like 30 seconds, he's like, meh, it's been enough time.
He said, this makes it more fun. And like he's running around. And this is pretty much the general gist of the entire story. They're running around in the empty carnival, and he's finding her, and they're fucking. So I've got some notes.
Also, we forgot to tell you, his name is Jackson.
Her name's Blair.
So before he starts chasing her in this game of this, I'm a bad boy, I'm going to chase you. And oh no, I'm a good girl. I'm going to run, but I'm going to love it when I get caught because I want to go bad. So the first scene, he basically is like touching on her. They're kissing. This is before he makes her run and everything. And he puts his hand down her pants
Oh,
and he starts
yeah.
touching her. And then basically he's like, oh, you're super wet. You're such a bad girl. And he's like, I want you to touch yourself and I want to watch because your first orgasm is going to be for you. And my question for you for that scene is, have you ever had somebody ask you to touch yourself and had to make yourself orgasm in front of them? Because I don't know about you, for me, it's like a 10-minute ordeal. I can't be having somebody watch me that long.
That was exactly what I was going to say. I was like, I love that quote because that's what I highlighted. I want your first orgasm to be your own. And I was like, that's hot. I love that idea. Like, we're going to have fun. It's going to be on my terms, but I want you to come and I want you to be able to do it. And yeah, no, I have had somebody ask me to do that in front of them before. And I think it's hot. I love that whole playing idea. But in this situation, that was way too fast. There's no
Way
way.
fast.
No offense, girl. She was desperate for this man's attention, if that's the
Mhm.
case. And no dishing. Like, and that's something else that I like or that I wanted to talk about is a lot of this felt very in the moment type stuff. Like, is this realistic? No. But if she is desperately wanting to break away from who she was and she finds this guy super attractive and he is a Dom, which is another comment I want to get into later on. He's giving Dom energy. He's controlling. He's like very confident in what he's doing. I mean, I feel like that would be a very fun time to be doing all this crazy stuff and perhaps coming in front of him in seconds. I don't think I could do that myself. I actually feel like I would be very in my head if somebody told me to do that and like
Yeah.
come right now. I'd be like, I can't. I
I
literally
can't.
cannot.
I would start being really performative and it would be
Exactly.
it would be just so you know, if you ever ask me to do that and it takes 10 seconds, it's fake.
Fake. It's fake.
Fake news.
It's fake.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like. I'm like, I can't, like, I'm impatient. So I'm like, I want this to hurry up. I want to get to the fun part.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
ah.
Is that the sound you make?
Every time.
I loved
Every time.
that. I loved that so much.
There's another comment though, because he in that scene where he was like, "Is it really that easy to turn you on, princess?" And I was like, "That's so funny.
That is dirty.
It's dirty," but the whole time, every time I read princess, I was like, "Princess, is
Princess.
it really that easy to turn you on, princess?"
No, that is horrific.
I think it is. I think it's just because of TikTok. TikTok has ruined everything for me. But I do like in the DS dynamic being called a princess to somebody who's above you. Like they are going to be taking care of you and treating you like royalty and a princess and like ultimately making sure you're taken care of and you're okay. But you're still the princess. You're not like the queen. You're not like the king. You're not in charge. You're a dainty little girl
A
who just
delicate
needs
little
somebody to take
flower.
care of.
Yeah, I love that.
Princess.
Princess.
And then okay, so right before he sends her off and like he's explaining the whole game, he says, "I've always gotten a thrill out of hunting, tracking people down in the dark while they hoped I couldn't find them." That's literally one of my biggest fears is like running for my life and having somebody chase after me. Like I would cry. It's not fun. I can't even play hide and seek or tag. Like I
Really?
scream and I cry. Yeah, it's very scary to me. I get really amped up in my head when people are hunting me. I'm like, what are they going to do?
I love hide and seek. I love games like that. But if I really was scared, no, no, I would not be turned on. I fear not one of my kinks. Let me go ahead and just put that out there.
Fear and pain, I don't think are mine either.
Not for me.
I would love to, because like, as you guys
I
will
would
hear,
love for pain to be.
well, see, that's the thing. It's like these scenes are hot and fun, but would I actually enjoy this? Probably not.
I can guarantee you I wouldn't.
Yeah. So let's talk about that first scene. So, okay, I'll do it.
You got it.
So he's chasing after her. And there's a couple other weird little things that happen in the story that I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This seems very out of pocket or out of place. He's chasing after her. Apparently, she paid this little girl to like lead him the wrong way. And he believed that little girl where he was like, where'd she go? Where'd that girl go? Where's she running off to? And the girl pointed in the wrong direction. And then he was like, she's not in this hay bale. And then she was like, hee. And then he figured out where Blair actually was. I was like, that's a little, I mean, I get the cute parts. You got to give a little bit of fun, normal stuff here and there. But I was like, that who would pay a strange kid to tell somebody there's someone chasing me, tell him I'm in this haystack? You know what I mean?
Also, how would she know that he was going to walk by this random little girl in a carnival and be
Yeah.
like, where's that girl? Like,
Yeah.
weird.
Something's not adding up. But anyways, he figures out that Blair is on top of the petting zoo roof or something like that. So he finds her up there. He gets her all tied up. Like he grabs her and he wraps her hand around this rope and yanks it over a pulley. So she's like standing up straight. Her arms are like tied above her head and she's like lifted off the ground almost like she's on her tippy toes. And he takes her clothes off and then he starts fondling her. And
Oh.
yeah, and he turns her around to face the edge. So like she's like butt naked, so held up over the ledge of this building, looking down over to like this emptying out carnival because the carnival's not empty yet. There's still families in there. We just have that kid. So she's like naked, being held up over there, facing over the wall.
They end up doing it, doing the deed,
Mhm.
if you will.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was going to ask you throughout this whole book, no matter how scary, how crazy, anything it gets, they seems like they have this like magnetic, like animalistic attraction to each other. They're almost like yin and yang with like, oh, I'm a delicate little flower, Southern girl, Southern belle. And then he's like, I'm a masculine man, I'm scary. And they just like are, whatever. Anyway,
Yeah.
have you ever felt like that magnetic attraction to anyone? Like, have you ever been like, God, I
Caught in the moment,
cannot.
like you.
Yeah, you're like, I need them immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever had that, like, to an extent, maybe, but
I actually have a fun fact because I'm in my sexuality era right now, if you guys haven't known. And I have not really ever been in that moment where I'm like, I've got to have sex with them right now. It's
mhm.
happened before, yes, very rarely. And when it happens, it's like it's just like this where it's like I need to do this now. Like there's an impulse that's going on in me and I need to have them now.
Mhm.
But for the most part, I feel like I'm almost asexual to where I don't where I don't think about sex like that. I'm never looking at somebody and being like, I want to have sex with them. I'm just kind of like, you're cute, you're attractive, but my mind is not like, I gotta fuck.
I don't know that I've ever, because in this situation too, they've never, this is the first time they've met. Like, I think I've been with someone, like, that I've had moments where I'm like, "Oh, yes, now, immediately." But I don't know that I've ever had that, like, magnetic, like, we're just meeting. I can't.
Like a meet up, like you just met them.
Yeah, and where I'm like, "I need it now." I don't feel that I've ever had that.
I even wrote a note in there. I was like, she's really saying, fuck it. Let me just be wild and crazy tonight. Like all these things that he's making her do and that they're doing together, just meeting. Like, yeah, that is insane. She's a different breed for sure.
Yeah. I couldn't be me.
Not me either. Not you chasing me, not you trying to throw me over a roof and teasing me. No, thank you. I don't like that.
It's a
Not for
no for
me.
me.
So the next part is he's like, all right, that was so much fun. Let's do this whole thing again. And if I catch you, I will punish you. So she's like, all right, I got to outsmart this guy. I got to do something that he will never find me because he's going to think I'm hiding out all these crevices. So she hides in the Ferris wheel. She climbs up the Ferris wheel, like on the outside, from is what it sounds like. Like she climbed up the Ferris wheel and got herself into a little carriage and just ducked down there and waited. And she waited for like 30 minutes or maybe an hour.
It was like an hour. She said at some point her leg was falling asleep and she like couldn't move because she was too scared the thing would rock.
Yeah, it said an hour, maybe longer. First of all, there's no way I would be waiting there longer than 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I'd be like, well, I'm done. And then the second thing is she said I need to beat him. And I'm like, how do you beat him while you're still playing the game? Like there is no winning unless you just leave.
Also, I get the game. Actually, I don't. After one time and
Yeah.
you got me good, I would be escaping to my car.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
be running away to my car.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's
For
it.
sure.
We did it. That was great.
Yeah, got that out of my system.
Yeah, good night. It's before midnight. That's perfect.
Every time I still get my 8 hours of sleep and it was
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just not that adventurous of a person.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I feel like I have to be mentally prepared for this kind of game. Like, I think that it could be a fun game, but this is not something I would do with somebody I just met. And it's not something I would do without discussion.
And all night?
Yeah. That's wild. I'd be like, oh, I hope. And yeah, the other thing is she had friends with her this whole in the first half, and they all left her. And they were like, you're not going to hang out with that Carney guy. He's so sketchy and crazy. And she's like, yeah, I think I want to stay here. And they're like, okay. And they leave her. And I'm like, these are some shitty ass friends that are like, that's a sus looking guy. And then they just leave her out there. And I
All
think that's
night?
fake friends. Yeah. All night. Nobody even checks in on her. Nobody calls to check in on her or anything. Fake friends.
If you told me that you were gonna stay back with a carnival worker, the way I would I would literally wrestle you to the ground to get you
And
home.
that's just me, a normal weird girl. Imagine Blair, like an Ivy League rich girl, saying that she wants like that's weird. That's
Yeah.
very out of character.
I would be like, "He can come with us if you'd like, if you're really that insistent, but why will not be leaving you in the carnival alone?"
Yeah, her friend was a bitch. She was like, she came all the way out here and she didn't want to ride any rides or do anything, no foods, nothing. She was being such a party pooper. I was kind of like good riddance, but also I was like, that's a bad friend.
Terrible friend.
Terrible.
I have one more major thing to bring up, and I don't
Hmm.
even know, God, if you are any relative of mine, I'm gonna need you to turn this off immediately. Okay?
Now,
You have 3 seconds. If you know me, turn this off. Um, okay, spitting in your mouth, right? That's one thing, okay? Spitting in her mouth after you ate her out and you came inside of her. So came inside, ate her out, and then you spit in her mouth. Um, I I feel that I'm a pretty open person sexually. That is one thing that I think I would immediately throw up. I just don't think I could do that.
What part about it grosses you out?
All of the fluids. I love a fluid mishmatch. All three, I think that's a boundary for me.
Spit, vagina juice, cum juice.
No,
No, no.
cum
They
juice.
should not.
He came inside her,
Uh-huh.
ate her out
Uh-huh.
after, and then took all that
Spit it
and
in your
spit
mouth.
in her mouth.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's called snowballing.
There's a
It's a
term for it.
it's a kink, yeah. It's where you come inside somebody, you eat it out,
They did this
and
without any discussion.
I know, and that's something else that I wanted to talk about because, oh yeah, that was literally my next note. Because after he finds her at the Ferris wheel, it was a very intense scene where he was like calling her a whore, telling her she was worth nothing, she was worthless, she's so desperate, like really breaking her down, like completely
Yeah.
crushing her. And he was just being really mean and then kind of aggressively like manhandling her too. He says, "Princess, I can promise you I've held back, but the things that I wanted to do," and he said, "in order for me to do these things, you need to understand that while I'm in control, you still have the power," a safe word. And so this is where I'm like, this is definitely giving a Dom sub dynamic going on right now. But I don't like how this is just now coming up on their second scene together, like their second sex scene together. This,
Yeah.
for how intense he has been, this should have been discussed before it even started.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
it's
this
all
was a
fine and
lot.
dandy, but like she is brand new to this. She has never had this happen before. She's had one boyfriend her entire life and she's been sheltered. And now he's spitting in her mouth and strapping her up above a rooftop and chasing after her. Yeah, you need to have that kind of conversation before any of that starts.
Yeah, and this is hard because this is a genre, this is a genre of a book
Sure.
that is just pure fantasy. Like total like it's a dark romance. And I don't think I realized how dark it was until we started reading it. And I don't know, like I liked Haunting Adeline and stuff like that. Like I liked the taboo, dark nature of everything. Like I've liked some dark romance, but it always just there's just a twinge of like, ooh, my
This is not
feminism
right.
is screaming a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, and that's what makes it really hard to enjoy sometimes because it's like, yeah, I'm like, consent is everything. You need to have consent. But at the same time, in an established dom and sub relationship, you would have had these consents already to where if you guys were familiar with each other, this could have happened and you guys would know that that's okay.
Yeah,
But they did not know that this was going to happen. She did not know this was going to happen. So in my head, it's like, that's not okay. But she
icky.
is
Yeah.
thankfully okay with it. She is enjoying it. But in the real world, guys, you gotta ask for consent. Communication is key.
Yeah. So just let's all remember that this is complete fantasy. Just like we read books where men are controlling, psychotic, love bombing, but we love it because they're fae and they have powers. This is a different kind of fantasy genre. So we are not in any way promoting this. This is tea. We are just here to discuss the hot topics of the
Hot
tea we're
topic.
reading and
Absolutely.
assume that every other sexual position that we are talking about is consensual. You know,
Good
in this
job.
book, it is the lines are blurred.
It's consensual non-consent is what the term is called. But still, you should be talking about that before any of that starts.
Mhm.
But I did want to talk again more about the fact that he did bring that up. And this is what I was trying to relay to you about the DS dynamic when I was poorly describing it. When he says, in order for me to do the things that I want to do to you, you have to understand that while I'm in control, you still have the power. So that means he is going to be doing what he wants to do. But if at any time I or the sub am not happy or it's crossing a line or I'm reaching my breaking point, I say my safe word. We stop the dynamic and we work on aftercare. We work on figuring out what's happening. How do we make this better? Let's stop, like, focus on you. And that's what I really appreciate. It should have happened in the beginning, but that's what I appreciate about him talking about this right now. And that's where it was giving that DS dynamic.
I'm glad that that conversation was brought up at some point. Should have been earlier, but again, fantasy.
Yeah. Okay, there was another scene that ended up happening. We need to talk about their conversation post Ferris wheel because that was when he was breaking her and calling her all those terrible names and she was not understanding what he was doing. And so they had that whole discussion about like how you just broke me down and I already feel like a piece of shit, like I'm not worth anything. He tells her, he was like, well, I got a secret to tell you. I killed my best friend a long time ago. And I was like, okay, well, that was really left field. We knew he had a track record. We knew that he was a bad guy, but dang, he killed his friend on accident due to anger. And this man seems very angry already with the way that he's manhandling her and all that other stuff. I would be very scared.
Yeah. I feel like also the way she was describing, he's telling her this in her POV. It switches back and forth POVs. So he's telling her this, and she's saying that he's basically saying it very chill, very casual. Like, yeah, it happened. It sucked. It was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Just like
And she's like,
very, not like all broken up, like, oh, this is terrible. I wish it never would have happened. It's just like, yeah, it happened.
yeah, what are you going to do?
Oh, I don't
What are
love
you
it.
going to do?
And she
Yeah.
said, I've been with this man's all night. This man just snowballed me.
He did. He just snowballed her. And then after all of that, after that trauma dump, he said, let's play again.
He said, run.
Yeah, seriously. So she's running. I think she gets to like this dead end. He creeps up behind her and he says, boo. And I highlighted this part because he creeped up behind her in a curtain or something like that. He says boo. And then in her POV, she said, and my pussy is drenched. That's how you know she's liking it.
Yeah,
You
she
know
said, this
she's
is
liking it.
wonderful.
She's like, I love that. But then, so then he grabs her by the hair and drags her to this mirrored room. And that's where they start fucking again. And this scene was intense. I liked
Now, the mirrored room, I enjoy. The mirrored
I
room,
did.
that is a scene that I very much enjoy.
Why did you enjoy it?
Think of all the views, the angles. Like, I just think it's like that is just like a sensory overload. Like, that's just an extra. I don't know. I feel like I don't think I would want to watch myself really. Not in that many angles, but I do think the concept of it is really
Hot.
risque. Very
I
hot.
liked I like that it was dark and there was like strobe lights or was there strobe lights? I don't even know. I think it was just like low light and there
Yeah.
was lots of mirrors, but he was like slamming her against the mirrors. There were shattered mirrors and she is getting cut up quite a bit. This guy's fucked her up quite a bit. And so she is being pressed against this mirror, broken mirror. She's getting cut up and she is looking at him fucking her. And she's like, this is hot as fuck. And like, without even thinking, because she's in so much pain, but also so much pleasure, she grabs a shard of glass. And then when she looks back up, she sees her holding a shard of glass to his neck. And he's like, cut me. And so she does. She like digs that glass into, and it was like rough and aggressive. And like I said, I'm not a pain person. I know for a fact I would hate this so much, but it seems really hot in my opinion. Like it seems very hot.
For me, I loved the scene up until this point. I just can't. That just turns me off so much. Literally, I'm such a baby with pain. If I'm even in the slightest bit of pain, just normal,
Yeah.
good old vanilla missionary, I'm like, nope, I can't. It's not doing it for me.
Yeah.
When I was reading this, I was like, this is the most unrealistic thing I've ever read in my life.
But there's people like that. So here's some tea because I, like we said, we're not good with pain, but there's some people out there who are good with pain. And me and Colby in Chicago, it's a very sex positive place out here. So we've been to sex positive parties. And there was this girl who was a sadist. She's a sadist. She loves pain and she loves to get fucked up. Like she's like, I enjoy being punched, kicked, punched in the back of my head, whipped, beat. Like she wants to get fucked up. And she let me play with her and I used a whip on her and I was swinging the shit out of it like so hard. And she was loving it. And I was like, this is mind blowing. Like the fact that and that just goes to show everybody that you are not alone ever. There's always going to be somebody out there who is going to match your freak. And that is something that you should be proud of. Hold true to yourself, know what you like, know what you don't like, and go find the people who will support that. But I
100%.
am not a pain person, but I did enjoy hitting her. It was really fun. Like not in like a
Oh,
mean it was just it felt very therapeutic, you know?
yeah.
Yeah, you should just try hitting someone.
I'm not gonna kink shame anyone, but that really scares me. It scares me a lot. I
Yeah.
wouldn't wanna witness
Maybe
it. I wouldn't wanna partake in it. I'm scared.
maybe I should recommend this book to her. She
Maybe.
might like it. She might really
Yeah,
like that. And
yeah.
that's just goes we'll rate this book at the end. So then there was that other scene where he finds her, like he purposely sets her up and he puts her phone because she left her phone up on the rooftop, so he had it, and he puts it in a cage inside of the fun house. So she's like reaching into this cage to
And he's
grab it.
calling it. He's calling her
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah. And then she grabs the phone and he like locks her in there essentially, pulls her pants down and just fucks her while she's in the cage. And she's claustrophobic and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll fix that." I
Yeah.
hate that.
I hated this whole scene, honestly. It
Yeah.
The beginning really got me. I loved, like, the first 2 or 3 sex scenes.
Mhm.
After it, 1, it got redundant for me, and 2, the more intense it got, the more I was like it was also a little unrealistic. Like, he got her phone, he hid it in a cage, and then he called it, and she's like, "Oh, there's my phone. Let me crawl in this tight little space. Oh, no." I don't know. It just was giving
I don't want to say it, but was she asking for it? I'm just I'm just kidding. You can take that out. You can take that out. I'm just kidding. Well, this is a dark romance, okay? So maybe she was. I don't know. I don't know. Just forget about it all.
I actually think she was asking for it because she actually was asking for it.
Yeah, she was like, "Okay, fine."
This is all this whole book is scary. It's
Very
very
taboo.
scary. But it also she really was asking for it. She wasn't running away. She was just running around hiding in the carnival. She
Mhm.
was playing the game.
Yeah. And I think it is wild that she played for so long. I definitely would have left it.
One time,
But
that's it.
yeah, they were really both committed to the bit for sure. They ended the night fucking in the middle of the fairgrounds while all the carnies were in their trailers sleeping. That was kind of cute. And then he brings her back to his trailer to change and get cleaned up a little bit. And then they go their separate ways. And then in the epilogue, she's like thinking about him still. So she drives all the way over to another state where they have moved because the carnival moves around. And she shows up and they're like, "Oh, you
And
couldn't get
then
enough."
she's like, "Want to play a game?" That would have been such a good way to end it.
Mhm.
I want to hear it in the Saw voice.
Audio.
So,
"Wanna
would you
play a
like to play
game?"
a game?
Is that your Saw
Let's
voice?
play a game.
I've actually never seen Saw.
What?
It was really scary, from the clips that I've seen, and I can't do it.
You're saying you beat a girl for sexual pleasure the other day. I think you could probably watch a Saw movie.
No, but Saw's killing people. I wasn't killing anybody.
They're not always dead. Sometimes they're just
Most
severely
of them
maimed.
that's that's not what I was doing. To her, I'm pretty sure, like, everything I was doing to her, it was like a slap on the wrist compared to what she's used to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I felt very strong. I felt like she was very strong too because I was like, I was not holding back. I was like whole arm hitting.
That's so
It was insane.
scary.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah. Well, so all right, let's talk about this book.
okay.
What would you rate it, scale of 1 to 10, for overall book, all elements included? I think for me, I would give it a 2.5, maybe 3.
I would give it for everything, and I'm going to say it's because of the length of the book, the spice that was in it, the character like relationships to each other. I would give it a 3.
Okay.
Because it was an easy read. It was entertaining for the most part. But was there a plot? No. And was there anything that I'm going to take away from this? No.
No, I agree with that. Spice level.
This is probably the spiciest, most taboo book that I've read. I would give it, just because this is me starting out. I'm not really a smut reader, you guys. I like plots and stories. But in terms of smut, this is definitely the most smutty, slutty, spicy, taboo book I've ever read. So I will say this is a 5 right now. And that's going to be the placeholder for my spice books until we get other books in our repertoire.
Yeah, I would definitely give it a 4 or a 5. I mean, the whole book was spice. It was like kinky spice too. It wasn't just like
Yep.
vanilla.
That's why I give it a 5, because it was very much taboo. It was very much BDSM, very much BDSM. And there was taboo stuff in it, like consensual non-consent, and the like hunting like prey is a very kinky thing to do, and all the other like specific things they did in their sex scenes. We didn't go through all the things that they did, but there were very kinky things, very specific, not vanilla things that they
Mhm.
did. And then the BDSM is more like their dynamic. That's kind of what gave me that BDSM vibe, is their dynamic.
Yeah. This was a very heavy spice read. Like, if you don't like spice, don't ever think about this book. Don't.
Don't even think about it. Don't get near it. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
That's
It's
okay.
not your tea. That's not your tea. We didn't really like it, honestly.
Mm.
It was interesting to talk about.
It really scared me, princess.
Princess. Princess.
And if you've heard Miranda's lisp this whole time, she has kept her teeth in this entire time.
Yeah,
Her
I'm a vampire.
Yeah, her vampire teeth, not her dentures.
No, not the dentures quite yet, just the vamps. And it is actually kind of hard to talk with these things, so.
Yeah. I mean, you did a great job though. Well, guys, let us know what you think about these micro peaks. We have gotten some positive feedback from it. This might be a little much. We went
No.
pretty hard with this.
No, I think it's good. I mean, I feel like there's not a lot of people talking about crazy stuff like this. It's just a
That was
book.
fun.
It's just a book, and we're having a conversation about it.
Let us know if you want us to do this again. If you have any recommendations for fun, like we kind of want to go with like shorter books, not shorter, but like on the shorter
A day
side
worth.
for like our micro peaks so that we have more time to like cover them and talk about them and also keep up with our main story too. So if you have any recommendations, something you want to hear us talk about, drop it on one of our socials or our DMs, if you will.
Yeah. You can follow us on Instagram at Plot Peak Podcast or on TikTok at plot.peak. And that's where you can slide in our DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love
Yeah.
that so much if you did that. And that's it.
All right. Well, have fun, guys. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Goodbye.
Bye. Kitty pies.